Welcome back to On Texas Football. I'm Jeff Howe, joined by Gerry Hamilton and CJ Vogel. Time for this week's edition of the Recruiting Breakdown. And Gerry, anytime we have the Recruiting Breakdown here on the channel, it's brought to you by Mark Saunders.
Yes, the Texas alum Mark Saunders, Texas All-State agent Mark Saunders serves the Austin and Round Rock area and the entire state of Texas. That means he's the only insurance agent you'll need in your life. Everything from your home, your car, and your boat to your motorcycle, RV, and your ATV. Call Texas All-State agent Mark Saunders' office today. 512-218-8571. You know, it sounds great. Over 35 years of experience, and he's a Texas alum. That's Mark Saunders. Again, if you're in the Austin or Round Rock area or the entire state of Texas, he's the only insurance agent you'll need. Give him a call, 512-218-8571.
All right, guys. Steve Sarkisian does not like to deal in hypotheticals. Sark makes that very clear. I don't deal in hypotheticals. We do here at On Texas Football. We very much deal with hypotheticals. So the hypothetical for this week's edition of the Recruiting Breakdown is if the 2026 recruiting cycle ended today and the class as is what it looks like at the finish line, how does it stack up with the 2025 class? Gerry, I'll start with you at the most important position on the field. Really, the battle is between KJ Lacey and Diabell.
Yeah, so from a ranking standpoint, obviously 26 is the winner here. Diabell's ranked as high as number 2 overall in America in the industry rankings, a composite 5-star prospect. Now, I say that with the caveat that I think KJ Lacey was underrated in high school. CJ and I had this discussion many times because it became down to a height thing with him, and I think people ranked him down because of it, and he's already, I think, showing that he's going to play above that in his college career based on everything we're hearing. So, but quarterback is the winner from a rankings class standpoint because Diabell is the Elite 11 winner, 5-star before that, rises to the number 1 or 2 quarterback in the country, even number 2 overall in one ranking. So quarterback 26 ahead of quarterback 25 from a rankings perspective.
CJ, 1 running back in 2026. Obviously, it's a big one with Derek Cooper. 2 backs in the 25 class. James Simon, who I'm excited to see him this week after the spring and after summer conditioning, what he looks like at the start of camp, and Ricky Stewart. Which you like better, the 2-back class or the 1-back class so far?
Yeah, that's really the question. Do you value the 2 backs and what they could give you over their careers or the 1 potential back with Derek Cooper? Look, I'm siding with 2026, and I think because of the frame, because of the size and the speed combination of a Derek Cooper at 6'2", 215 at the moment, 210 in that range, running 10.7, you get something that you just don't find very often, and that size with speed and that one-cut burst ability of Derek Cooper. Now, I do think that James Simon's in for a pretty long career with the Longhorns. I think this is a guy that you're going to see on the field in 2025 and beyond. Now, that's the big thing is what else do you get out of Ricky Stewart, right? Can you get more from him than you expect? And if that's the case, I could be wrong here, but I like the upside of a Derek Cooper, and I'm siding with 26 in this one.
That'll end the South Florida portion of the show.
Gerry, we go to wide receiver, and we're going to group wide receiver and tight end together because the class of 2026 has no tight end. So when you look at the total package, it's hard to argue against 2025. But, Gerry, I'll start with this. The 2025 wide receiver class, what is the upside for that group? And you look at the addition of Emmett Mosley. Has that changed your opinion on which of these guys can contribute and when they're going to be able to contribute?
Yeah, that's a great question. Look, I would say what's the upside of 25 receiver class? I think 3 draft picks. I mean, I think all 3 of those guys are high-level guys. I don't care where they're starting on the depth chart now or entering fall camp here in a couple of days or in a day. That doesn't matter. It's where we ultimately think these guys are going to go, and they all have the same ceilings. Now, draft-wise, that's a totally different story. But yeah, look, I think that's a pretty easy pick. And I think from the tight end perspective with Nick Townsend and Emery Winston, and that 25 class is a runaway over 26 without a tight end in the class and 2 wide receivers. And that doesn't mean Chris Stewart and Cohen Brown aren't going to be really good players. But the 25 class had rankings perspective guys. I mean, you had all 3 of those guys on some ranking service might have been ranked as a 5-star prospect. And I'll say this, too, about those guys. I think we're going to see all 3 on the field this year. I'm not saying how much. I don't think any of those 3 guys is headed for a red shirt. They're all going to play for the Longhorns this year.
CJ, This topic came up on Coffee and Football Monday morning. The guys were asked the most underrated recruit in the class. Gerry mentioned Cohen Brown. CJ, I know you're a big fan of Cohen Brown. What do you think about this 2 wide receiver class Texas has so far with Chris Stewart and Cohen Brown?
It's certainly something that I think will outweigh the ratings at the moment. Look, you watch Cohen Brown in person, 6'2", 200 pounds. He fits that exact measurables of a Matthew Golden from a year ago. Plus, he's got the 10.8 speed to match it up. So, for me, Cohen Brown's certainly going to be a guy that outplays where his ranking is at the moment. And again, will only continue to improve, right? I remember he committed. Waxahachie coaches at the time told me, we got to tell this kid to go home, right? He tries to outwork what his body's capable of doing. That's the type of guy that you like to have in your class. And look, I think for Chris Stewart, he kind of gets that Amari Winston treatment from a year ago, a guy that's been committed for so long. Maybe that ranking doesn't line up with what you expect from a specific position, but just a very, very solid gamer and a guy that will go out and continue to prove guys wrong the way that Amari Winston did in the spring, stepping in immediately, getting some first team run, and really having guys turn around and say, whoa, okay, I didn't know we had him like that this early in his career. I think Chris Stewart's very much of the same. The big thing for me is, can you also double up and get some Germaine Bishop at wide receiver as well? That's going to be a big caveat when we come back and compare 25 and 26s later on down the line.
Gerry, that was going to be my question for you. Germaine Bishop is the ultimate wild card in this class. If he ends up on offense, how does that change the makeup of this wide receiver class for you?
Well, I would say this. Of all the receivers in 25 or 26, if you put Bishop in the group, he's the best playmaker, just pure football playmaker. I mean, we talked about it on Coffee and Football Monday morning. He has 3,000 or 2,980 yards receiving in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
I mean, 6A football in Texas. And one of those years was without DJ Lagway. So, I mean, that's unbelievable numbers. Oh, and by the way, in the last 3 years, 113 tackles or 112 tackles and 13 interceptions. Like, from a playmaking standpoint, he's the best playmaker of the group. So I think you would have to say, okay, can he be a better slot receiver than Dalen McCutcheon? Then that's where you get into the player-to-player arguments. But I would still give 25 receivers the edge as a whole over 2026.
Guys, he's a different build than the guy I'm going to mention. But when you watch Germaine Bishop's tape, and I think of just a pure playmaker, I go all the way back to when Quan Cosby was at Mart and just a guy that you looked at him as a two-way player. And I said, I don't care where he lines up. Just get him on the field. He'll be one of your best 11. Gerry, with Germaine Bishop, I don't think it matters where he lines up. He's going to be one of your best 11 on either side of the ball.
I mean, you think about the names that, and it's different players frames-wise, but Bobby has Nathan Vasher. You just mentioned Quan Cosby. From a football playing perspective, I could throw Earl Thomas or Quandre Diggs out there. Guys that just played until they cramped in high school, and it didn't. So he's in that category of football player, period. So whether he plays corner, whether he plays receiver, I think he's going to be equally successful.
CJ, let's go to the offensive line, and I want to get your thoughts on the 26 class. Gerry, I'll get your take on 25 here in a second. But CJ, when you talk about 26, I only mentioned this because, again, Gerry and Bobby on Coffee and Football on Monday talked about maybe how underrated Nicholas Robertson is. And again, maybe just one of those guys that has been committed for a while, almost out of sight, out of mind. What do you think of this Texas O-line class, though, so far, CJ? Obviously, John Turntine's the big fish, but Max Wright and Nicholas Robertson have been committed for a while, but there's a reason Kyle Flood targeted both those guys.
Yeah, the fact that they've been in the class for so long kind of gives you a tip of the cap to what Kyle Flood was wanting to do in this class, right? He wanted to go at a guy with a lot of length and Max Wright. And look, for Nicholas Robertson to come camp at Texas in the summer of 2024 with a cast on his hand, and the staff still fell in love with what they saw in that camp. Well, that kind of gives you the weight in which he's able to provide power with his punch, the quick first step as well. Oh, and he's doing that all at 315 pounds, Gerry, right? That's a big human, and he's doing so very well. And of course, it certainly helps when you go out and you add the number one guy on your board entering the cycle, and that's John Turntine III, who guard, tackle, wherever, it doesn't matter. He's going to be a heck of a prospect. I talked to Ray Gates over at the Texas High School Coaches Association convention down in San Antonio, his high school head coach, saying he's going to put on whatever weight's necessary. He's going to be the guy that you tell him to go do something, he's going to give you the best of his ability at that said chore. So I like this class. And when you compare what's coming or what's already on campus, with that 25 class. Look, I think with Turntine and Brooks, you have two really, really solid tackle options, and you got a lot of guys that you have a lot of versatility with the Coleman brothers. You got the gritty Port Neches Grove warrior, with Jackson Christian. I think that you've got guys that you can mold into specific roles on that offensive line. When you put the 7 guys together, you got quite the crop that you can kind of build and mold into your own paths.
Gerry, the question mark for 25 is I'm guessing you'll go 26, gets the edge right now because of John Turntine, but the Nick Brooks factor, incredible early returns. Hopefully we get a chance to see him this week, see what he looks like. But this has a chance, Gerry. I know it's early. Nick Brooks has a chance to be one of the better O-line evals we've seen in this program in a really long time.
And so from our rankings, this is what makes this fun. So from a rankings perspective, when they signed, you'd probably give 26 the edge over 25 because we can't go back and say, Nick, everybody's saying Nick Brooks could be a first rounder already after the spring. That's not really fair to the conversation. Jackson Christian had a strong spring. He is seen inside on the 40 acres is a more athletic version of Hayden Connor. Well, that means he may be a draft pick.
Yep.
And then Devin and Jordan Coleman have insane power. Yep. And Devin Coleman may be a center at Texas. So you may have center, guard, tackle, and one of those the tackle being a left tackle in that class. Well, if that turns out, that class is going to end up being probably better than what people thought. Because I'm telling you, the Colemans have a ton of ability. They weren't in for spring practice, and they'll get a redshirt year to get acclimated. But on paper, with the conversation we're having right now, you'd go 26 over 25. Because especially in the back of our minds, we're thinking they're going to flip somebody else to add to it.
Yep. Gerry, before we flip over to defense and do the tail of the tape there, let everybody know one more time, whether it's their home or pretty much anything they've got on 4 wheels, why they need to get in touch with Texas alum Mark Saunders.
Whatever your insurance needs are, call Texas alum Mark Saunders. He serves the Austin and Round Rock area and the entire state of Texas. That means he's the guy to call, 512-218-8571. Do what so many other on Texas football community members have done. That's called Texas alum Mark Saunders and his over 35 years of experience. Again, 512-218-8571.
CJ, I'll let you start it off here with defensive line. Now we're going to combine interior defensive line and edge for this group.
Tough task.
Which do you like better, CJ, 25 or 26?
Yeah, that changes a little bit for me because I was just looking at defensive line and edge separately. But look, I'm going with 2025. And because of what I already know about a Lance Jackson, because of that first step quickness that I saw with Smith Orogbo combined with the interior guys, and I'll even keep Justice Terry on the outside for now, right? Only about 265 pounds till he gets to 290. He's going to be an edge for me. But those are instant impact level guys. Lance Jackson, Justice Terry, you look at Sharma and Myron Charles, their immediate impact is going to be something that Texas feels already in 2025 this fall. But it's the way in which Texas did it, right? Going to Georgia, going to California, going to Florida. It's a different level that they hadn't seen yet. Obviously, 2026 is loaded with out-of-state guys. But I think that top-tier talent is a little bit different in 2025. Now, Richard Wesley could certainly be the one that tips the scale one way or the other. But I'm rocking with 25 in this one.
Gerry's chomping at the bit here.
Yeah, look, I think this is the biggest coin flip of our debate because, I mean, where you can't really go wrong. Where CJ went with it. I mean, look, there's 2 5-star edge / D-line guys in Justice Terry and Lance Jackson, right? And then I think Sharma was way underrated nationally. I think Myron Charles was underrated nationally. And then you add to that Smith Orogbo, who missed his senior year with the knee injury, so he's probably undervalued versus his talent level. Then you get to 26, and I mean, it's, Richard Wesley's going to be a 5-star prospect, and you have 4 4-star defensive linemen, and you're probably going to add another edge to this class, at least one. Man, I'll be honest, I don't know who wins it, but I know this. If that's what you get from the 27 and 28 classes, you're going to have a bunch of draft picks, and probably 3 or 4 first-rounders.
Gerry, no, this isn't meant to disrespect Josiah Sharma or Myron Charles at all. And like I said, Justice Terry, he's kind of a hybrid, multiple shade guy, so I won't throw him in the specific interior group. Could the tipping point be that just Vodney Cleveland and James Johnson are so dang disruptive on the interior that could give that 26 group the edge?
What I do think Texas has done there is you have disruptors, you have over the ball, and Dylan Berryman, he's not going to be talked about a lot, but he is going to be a really good over the ball player, kind of like a Cole Brevard will be, right? He's just going to be a strong over the ball hoss, man. He's going to be hard to move. And Corey Wells has so much upside. When you have 4 interior defensive linemen in the class, a couple of guys aren't going to be talked about as much because the 2 most highly ranked guys are. But I think what Kenny Baker's done, they've done a great job melding all of it together to have 4 guys who all have different strengths as players, who also have versatility within the interior of the defense. I mean, Vodney Cleveland can play over the ball. He's going to be a 2-gapper. I think he'll play 3. I think James Johnson is a 3. But you know what? If you want to go Byron Murphy and put him over the ball, he could be a disruptor over the ball. And then you have Corey Wells, who knows what that frame's going to look like. And Dylan Berryman's more the guy that is positionally one thing, and that's over the ball. I think, Jeff, to your point, James Johnson's pretty special off the ball. Yeah. And Vodney Cleveland, athletically at his size, is right there with Myron Charles.
No doubt. I guess we'll give the edge to 25, but that's about as close as maybe we're going to get. We'll see as we finish up the defense here. CJ, you've got first crack at linebacker, 25 or 26?
I'm rocking with 26. And having seen Tyler Atkinson in person, Gerry, over the last week or two, I think he's a different specimen from what Texas has recruited at linebacker going back to an Anthony Hill. And look, I love Bo Barnes. I think as big as Bo Barnes is, pushing 245, running 10.9, like that is a freaky athlete. But there's something with the quickness of a Tyler Atkinson combined with a Kosi Okpala where you pair them up together. That's the class that I'm going to take is 2026 because Kosi Okpala, again, his ability to get after the quarterback off the edge as a spun down linebacker, very underrated. This class very much so goes forward where I think with the Jonathan Cunningham, you could play him in space. You could play him at star perhaps, and you have more ability to drop back into coverage with the 25 class. But I love this sideline to sideline pass rushing ability of 26, and they get the nod from me.
And I was going to add to that because what CJ, the news he broke from Texas high school coaches, so Texas high school coaching school, is that Jonathan Cunningham's worked out at star. Well, if he's a hybrid linebacker, 26 definitely gets the edge.
Yeah,
no doubt. Yeah, and Okpala is interesting for me, guys, because like they're looking for an edge rusher. Whether they get one or not, he's in the mold of what they're trying to do right now with Trey Moore and Brad Spence, where you've got an off-ball linebacker, but you're we know PK is not a big blitz guy. He's never been a big blitz guy. He'll never be a big blitz guy. But I think the antidote to that is get guys where you can have an organic pass rush, as many of those guys on the field as possible. Gerry Pollock, even if he stays at off-ball linebacker, he's one of those guys that can be a 3-down player because of his ability to rush the passer.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Look, I'm a big Kosi Okpala fan. He is a guy that studies more film maybe than anybody in this 26 class. I'm not saying the other guys don't. I'm just saying what we learn about Kosi, the depth he goes to. But yeah, he's got that position versatility. He's got that 3-down ability. And he's got a frame that's going to add a good 25, 30 pounds to it. And he is going to look unbelievable at 6'2" and probably 245 when all said and done.
CJ, as we go to defensive back, look, in the 26 class, I've already got my Smoke Matthews jersey on pre-order down at the co-op, so I'm good to go there. But the returns from spring ball were so good on this 25 class, and that's while Jonah Williams was playing baseball. So I'm not setting you guys up or telling you where to go, but it's hard to argue against the depth and talent of that 25 secondary class.
Yeah, 25 gets the nod. This might be one in which there's a bit of a gap, maybe more so than any other position, save a tight end because you don't have one. But look, Cade Phillips, you know what you were getting with the 5-star with length and size, right? Grayson Littleton, however, is the one that surprised, right? He's the one late in the class, joins the Texas 2025 cycle class, and you just didn't know what he had. And then he gets to campus, and that's all we've heard is a guy that's going to contribute, a guy that's going to be on the field, whether it be special teams, whether it be rotationally. He's done enough to earn that trust already. And then you start talking about Jonah Williams, what he could provide. And let's not forget, Zealous Hicks was supposed to be a 2026. He was supposed to be and was a 5-star 2026 prospect. Reclassifies, rating drops, obviously, but this is a guy with his size at 6'2", 195 pounds, will eventually grow into a really solid thumper in the back end of that Texas secondary. Combined with Jonah Williams, I don't know if there's a more impressive, physically looking safety tandem that Texas has signed since Sarkisian arrived, and that's quite the task, right? I really, really like this secondary unit in the 25 class. Now, let's see where Texas goes to fill out its 26 cycle, because you like the size and length of a Smoke Matthews and a Hayward Howard, plus the versatility of a Miami Riley.
Gerry, I want to go back with you to 25 real quick because Texas, for the first time in a long time, maybe since I've been doing this, they've had success getting guys out of Fort Bend County. That through the Mac Brown era, especially, that had always been a problem area for Texas. And I say that not to bring up Cade Phillips. You've been higher on Caleb Chester than a lot of people in the industry or in the market have. And we've already talked about the early returns, and this is a corner with a lot of length and a lot of upside.
He is, and he just needs time to kind of get there physically. And the good thing about Caleb Chester is I think he's going to be patient with his development. But of all the guys that we talked to here on Texas Football on live streams, he may have been as impressive as anybody from a football IQ standpoint. And we've heard good things about him. It's just, look, if you're coming in at defensive back at Texas right now, you're going to have a little patience.
Yeah.
I mean, because there are so many really good players at defensive back. Now, if you start to hear about some of these guys overtaking the 25s, then that's or 24 class, I should say, that's not good news for the 24 class. But I think Caleb Chester's got a bright future, and I think his whole key is that physical development. And as long as he is patient with this process, I think he'll be a really good player for Texas.
Look, by default, specialist is going to go to 2026, but guys, it says a lot that even by this point in the cycle, you've got punter, place kicker, and snapper all taken care of in this class.
Yeah, and look, if you think about the 26 class, how much is still out there for them that they're already ahead on some of these positional conversations? What happens if Texas adds a Devon Benjamin? Just saying, what happens if they do? What happens if they add another big-time linebacker, right? I mean, this class, well, I've always maintained the 25 class is going to be the best class. 26 has a chance. Let's just see what happens. Do they take another wideout? Does Germaine Bishop become a defensive back? How does that change things if they add a really good defensive back and then Germaine Bishop's a corner or nickel at the end of the day? They're going to add another edge. Will they add two more? I mean, it's really going to be interesting debate come January after all these kids have signed and final rankings are out. But this 26 class, what it did is it made up ground in a hurry, guys.
Yeah, it did. And the thing I'll add on specialists, look, you have the number 2 kicker in Jake Collette. You got a top 5 punter in Mikey Bukowskis. And you obviously like what you saw in Trot O'Neill to get him in the boat early as well. So Texas not just adding specialists, right? They're adding some pretty darn good specialists into this class as well. And that kind of, for Jeff Banks, allows you to say, all right, I've done my job here. Let me go back to tight end. Let me go back to wherever Steve Sarkisian deploys me and contribute to get this class to where it needs to be. And right now, as we speak, top 5 class entering fall camp.
CJ, great point, Gerry. That's where we'll end it with you. We did a video here on the channel over the weekend talking about if Texas has a chance at the number 1 class. And Texas has a chance at the number 1 class. But when we looked at 8 different positions head-to-head, the edge is 5-3 in favor of the 26 class, and that's with giving 25 the edge at D-line. Gerry, whether it's top 5, top 3, number 1, Texas is a better football program if they just hold on to what they've got with this 26 class.
Absolutely. And add 2, 3, 4 pieces to it. If they get to 27 or 28, we'll be having that discussion about number 1 class again. But if they just continue to add some pieces to this class, this is how you really become a force in college football. Yep. Is you have 4 or 5 straight top 5 classes, and then you butt those up with a number 1 and a class that's worthy of being top 3, right? Maybe even top 2. Once you put those type of classes together, especially on your defensive front, once you load up on the front and back-to-back classes, you see those returns in 2 years, in 3 years. Just go look back at what Kirby Smart did at Georgia and how they finally were able to overtake Alabama. They started winning some of those defensive front battles. And look at those Clemson teams that won titles. Texas in the 25 class and 26 class so far, and they'll add the 6. These defensive front classes are very, very high end.
That holds true no matter what era you're talking about, Gerry, because I always like to point out the 2005 national championship team, your entire 2 deep on the defensive line played in the NFL.
Yes.
So, if you can win up front, especially in college football's ultimate line of scrimmage league, you're getting somewhere. Gerry, CJ, thank you guys for the knowledge and expertise as always. Thank you to Matthew behind the scenes for producing it. Thank you to Texas alum Mark Saunders for sponsoring it. If you're not a member at ontexasfootball.com, now is the time. You can become an OTFOG right now. Just go over to ontexasfootball.com, use the promo code OTFOG, and that'll get you 1 year of access on the site for $39.95. Camp is here. We're talking actual football on the field, so you don't want to miss it. We'll have you covered over on the website. Again, the promo code is OTFOG. That'll get you 1 year of access over to ontexasfootball.com for $39.95. Don't forget to like this video and make sure you're subscribed to the On Texas Football YouTube channel. That way, no matter whether you're here on the channel or you're on the site, you're getting the latest news, notes, and nuggets coming out of Longhorn camp. For Gerry, for CJ, for Matthew, for the entire On Texas Football staff, I'm Jeff Howe. Thank you so much for watching and listening. And until next time, hook 'em.